point in time, we'll have a time of remembrance, and I'd like to invite Jessica to come forward and share.
I just wanted to start, I'm going to start with some thank yous, and I'm going to try to get through this, because I want to say it, not someone else, but then I'm going to talk about Owen and Payton, and then just read a poem about something and make a little conclusion. But the following are my thank yous, and it doesn't really begin to capture how supported and loved that we all feel, but I do hope that explains it a little bit. I wanted to thank my parents for coming, and they came all the way from Illinois, and they've been here for over a month, and they've let Ben and I deal with our grief. And they've allowed us to grieve in the way that we need to by taking care of our 2 children and helping around the house and doing jobs so that, they feel like it'll be easier when they have to go back. I wanted to thank my husband he came to every appointment, and he's been just really supportive and patient with this whole process. And he's taking care of Megan and Nathan when I couldn't for physical or emotional reasons. And he's always the one to understand and read about, everything he could about the mono twins and the high drops. And, he always made sure he went to every 9 o'clock meeting at the NICU, and he talked with all the doctors. And also for my own 2 children, I'd like to thank for, they've been really good, even though I physically and emotionally was very challenged by all of this. And also my siblings, and I have a twin sister, Jennifer, and my little sister Joy is here from Indianapolis, and my brother came out from Minneapolis just for 1 weekend. And they've been real nice about, I don't usually answer my phone, so they've been real nice about not understanding that. And also just all my friends. I've had friends from high school. One gave me one of the necklaces I'm wearing, and they've just been really patient with me too, and they've offered to do anything, and sometimes they just do things without me asking, and I really appreciate that. And Holly, because she's been really nice to me, and she has taken care of, she teaches on Thursday and Fridays, and she's done so much to just make sure our students were taken care of when I kind of just had to leave. And she's helped with all the dinners and organizing all that, and she tries to learn about how to talk to someone that's grieving, and I really think that's so nice. And my friend Heidi, she's always known how to talk to me about myself, even though she goes through a lot herself, and she's been able to help me through this process, but also giving me the space to do so. And I want to thank all of Ben's coworkers, because he's been having to take a lot of time off, and he's sometimes had to leave just in the middle of the workday or whatever, and I know that everybody's been really nice about that. I wanted to thank my staff at the Walter Hayes Elementary School. Everybody's also been so patient with me for not, emailing back, and I know that people have been praying for us and thinking of us, and just all the kind words that people have said in the dinners and the cards and notes. And I wanted to think, I don't know how to thank the room's 7 parents, because it's they've been so nice to me, and I've taken away from, their own children's learning by leaving, and I know that I couldn't help that, but it's just that they've been so supportive of me in that, and they've done so much for me, like not only their time, but their energy. They volunteered to do things that I couldn't do, and even they've donated things with money, and I just don't know what to say. They've allowed me to grieve and been so understanding of this whole year, and I feel really fortunate to have had that set of parents in my lives this year, as well as other ones from the past that have really been so nice to me. And there's so many nice parents out there that I don't know how to even begin to thank them. I wanted to thank Megan's preschool teachers because they've allowed her to have kind of what a normal schedule it would be, and they've allowed us not to have to volunteer. Even before I went in the hospital, I was pretty physically challenged and tired, and they were so nice about understanding that. And Grace Lutheran, it's just a really nice preschool to have at this kind of time, because they've really taken care of everything, and I don't ever worry about her coming here, and she's always so happy to come. And also for Pastor Matt and Ivor for taking care of us and allowing us to have this and making us feel so welcome here. I wanted, sorry, this is going to take a while. So I want to thank my doctor. She's here. She was sitting next to me, Dr. Aziz. I met her when I first found out she confirmed that we were having mono twins, and it's like, I don't know how thoughtful or caring or thorough, I don't know how she is like that. She became my friend, and she's allowed us to grieve, but she's also made sure we understand everything that we've had to go through. She's supportive, and I want to say, the advice that she can give and the support can only come from a doctor that has so much love. And for not knowing how she does her job, I don't know how she works so hard, and I have the utmost respect for her. And I'll always remember that her, because of all of that, and her trust. I trust her and I admire her, and it was really important that she came into our lives to help us with this. And another doctor at Lucille Packard, he's not here, but Dr. El Sayed, he's a maternal and fetal medicine doctor as well. He took a lot of time with us. He was on rounds when I was in the hospital, but he also came when I know that he didn't have to come to see me. And he gave us advice that I didn't know could be given, and he helped us through the process in a supportive, caring way, but he also was very honest about what the outcome could be. And after Payton had passed away, he came to my room, and he held him. And I know that comforted Payton, and it also, in a lot of ways, comforted me and my husband to see him holding Payton. That was really nice. And Jane Zimmerman, the social worker at Lucille Packard, is here, and I don't know either how she does her job, but she was just very. She came when we didn't know we needed her, and it was like we were thinking maybe we needed something, and all of a sudden she was there, and she gave us all of our advice that we needed to grieve, and she's the one that told us about Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep Foundation, and she called them. She does everything that you don't want to do and she takes care of it for us, and she's been, in touch after that too, and that's been important. And there's one more doctor, Dr. Chetty, that doing some, I don't know what you call it, but she works with Dr. Aziz, and she's the one that found the high drops on Owen. And the reason I think that's important is because it was just like we went in for like a routine little ultrasound to check something that happened, and it wasn't a big deal, but so she was just quickly looking at the ultrasound and she found his high drops, and I just, for some reason, I feel like she's so thorough to be able to see that on it wasn't high resolution or anything, and it's like she wasn't supposed to be looking for that, but she found it, and that was, I don't know why, that just makes me know that she was caring and she did her job more than she needed to do. And also, when I had to go into the C-section, Ben was not able to come right away, so she held my hand and stayed with me until he was able to be there, which wasn't until after they were born. And I want to thank, of course, all the nurses on the F2 maternity ward. There's certain ones that I remember their names, like Rachel and Song and Elizabeth and Kathy and AJ, but there were so many others, and they took care of me. And they gave me the time that I needed because it was very challenging to be monitored in my case, and they made sure I had that time, and they took that time for me. It was basically like one-on-one a lot of times for over an hour. And also the NICU nurses like Linda and Allie and Bridget, and the nurse practitioner Lauren and Dr. Wong, who again went above and beyond what anyone could ask for, always talking with us in a sincere and caring way, but also very honest about what was going on. And Richard, our Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photographer, who came twice for us, within, Jane would call him and he was there 2 hours. 2 hours later to take pictures of Owen and then, of course, of Payton. And also for everybody for coming, and those that couldn't come but are thinking of us this afternoon to show their love and support of my family. And it means a lot to have you here and to know that Owen and Payton are remembered and loved. This might be the harder part. So Pastor Matt a while ago sent me an email, and it said that any journey can be exhausting, and it seems that those we do not volunteer to take are the worst. And we didn't choose this journey, but it seems to have been chosen for us. But from the beginning, when we found out we were having twins, we knew things would, become more complicated, even without any of the other situations. And at week 12, the doctors had told us that some of the risks of having a mono twins pregnancy, and kind of secretly, both Ben and I had read that only 50 to 60% of mono twins survive, but we decided we didn't discuss that ever until after they were born. But we knew for sure that we would follow this through. And then at week 22, January 29th, we found out Owen was very sick and had high drops that seemed to be from his lymphatic system, but they still aren't totally sure about that. The doctors were, though, 100% sure that he would not survive outside the womb. And that was somewhat of a shock and something that I don't think that we were expecting, and of course neither the doctors. And it took a lot for me just to function at a level. I needed to take care of Megan and Nathan, and I needed to process that idea, as well as the fact that being mono twins, it posed a risk for Payton as they were connected with their one placenta as well as many blood vessels. But we decided to stay the plan and have me enter the hospital at week 26 on February 28th. And I entered the hospital that day and was only there a week when I was monitored at midnight until 3 a.m. On March 6th. And the reason I was in the hospital so that they could monitor me 3 times a day for up to an hour at a time, but it ended up being that sometimes it would take 3 hours. And that morning was from midnight to 3 a.m. And I got nervous about that monitoring, so I asked them to monitor me early at 8 a.m., and usually it was around 9:30 that they did. And at 8:30, Dr. El Sayed came into my room and said, "This is why you are here. It is time." And he said it in the most caring and patient but calm way, but I knew that we had to go. So Owen's heartbeat had started to decelerate, and that's when you know there's no time to wait. So I called Ben at 8:34 a.m. and I was wheeled into the operating room, and by 8:52 I had 2 sons, but I didn't know it because I had to be under anesthesia, so I didn't wake up for a while. But Owen was stillborn, but by only minutes he had a heartbeat right before they went into surgery, and Payton was in the NICU before I had a chance to wake up. But one thing I know is that we would not have chosen a different path, although there are things I want to change about it. And every day I try to figure out how I could have fixed that. However, we will always be thankful to have met our 2 sons and to have had the time with them than none at all, and to have given them the best chance at survival. In fact, when we first found out we were having twins, I was surprised, yet I was overjoyed, because I knew that being a twin is special because I am one myself, but I didn't really understand how I'd feel to have twins myself. And it was an amazing feeling, and I was excited to have that opportunity. And I grieve for both of them equally, yet differently, and I also, for the same reasons, yet a lot of different reasons. And now I'm just going to talk a little bit about Owen and then Payton. Owen first. So he was my calm baby and very strong. He didn't move much, and even before we found out he had high drops at week 22, I knew that he was calmer than his brother. I just could tell that he wasn't moving as much. And some of the doctors said that his high drops was very significant, and others would say that it was on the very high end of a 1 to 10 scale. And all that really meant was that he was very sick, and they couldn't say when it would ever affect him. So we kind of just were left with waiting. And I had a hard time processing all that and knowing that he was not going to live, but still loving him all the same. And he stayed so strong with all being so sick for 5 weeks. And I do know that it was so that he could try to save his brother and allow his brother to have some kind of chance at survival. And at 27 weeks on March 6th, I was pulled into the emergency C-section. And it was not necessarily due to Owen, but more because my placenta and the cords, it was the worst cord entanglement they said they've ever seen, which led to Owen having his heart decelerate. But even so, Owen held on until the very possible last minute, until he was born, and he had fought so long to be strong, and he made it so far. And after the C-section, I was able to hold him, and I knew that I loved him, but I didn't know how much until that minute, and it just kind of overcame me. And I accepted that he wouldn't live, but at that minute, I just really wanted him to be okay, even though I knew that wasn't possible. And I held him all night until the mid-morning, except when I went to visit his brother at 2 a.m. in the NICU. But I came back and I put him back in my arms and was able to sleep by him the whole night. And if anybody knows me, I like to sleep by my kids, and I get made fun of for that, but it's, that meant a lot to me, because I didn't know that you could actually keep your baby, with you after they had passed, so that was really nice. And he was a chubby baby, but it was because of his eye drops. But he just seemed so at peace. It was like a kind of a peaceful time for me, and will always love him for that time. And then my baby Payton, he was my active one. He was, he kicked me a lot and was always moving. It was hard for the nurses and technicians to capture his heartbeat because he was really a very healthy baby. And we wished so much for him to be born and not having ill effects from the mono case or Owen's possible passing before birth. In finding out that his life depended on Owen's and that the mono cord entanglement were posing equal risks, we still wanted to give him that chance at life, and we believed with all our hearts that he would be okay. And he was okay, and he was born at 1 pound 14 ounces. He seemed to do well, so at first, and he had an APGAR score of 1, and then a 2, and then finally a 6. But he began struggling on his second day. And he really fought so hard for those 4 days of his life. And we stayed by his NICU crib as much as possible. And I sang a song I sang to Megan and Nathan at night. And I held his finger and I rubbed his head. And I put up a picture of his siblings. And one of my students made his name tag for his NICU crib, which I don't have a picture of right now, but we have it still at home. And from the first time I knew that he would be in the NICU, I wanted his crib to be personal and have things that he knew that we loved him, and even when we couldn't be right there for him. And even Megan and Nathan and my mom and dad and Holly and Heidi were able to see him in his NICU crib. And Megan always made pictures for me in the hospital, and one she made of Payton was of him in his diaper. And one thing Nathan said when he came was that he's a tiny baby. He kept saying, tiny baby. And when I looked at him, I just loved him and saw him just as a little precious baby boy. And he had my lips and Ben's nose, and he had a lot of hair just like Nathan when he was born. And I wanted to hold him and tell him it would be okay, but we did hold out the hope for him, but with the doctor's advice, due to some brain bleeding, we let him go on that Friday. And right before they started taking him off all those cords, he did grasp my hand, like he was just telling me that it would be okay. So with some of my friends and my family, we were able to hold him and have him pass in our arms, and we also were able to keep him that whole night. And so those 2 nights of holding him, I will cherish the rest of my life. And then I wanted to read a poem that I found, because I don't really make up anything myself. So I only wanted you. They say memories are golden. Well, maybe that is true. I never wanted memories. I only wanted you. 1,000,000 times I've cried. If love alone could have saved you, you never would have died. In life I loved you dearly, in death I love you still. In my heart you hold a place no one else could fill. If tears could build a stairway and heartache make a lane, I'd walk the path to heaven and bring you back again. Our family chain is broken and things don't seem like the same, but as God calls us back one by one, the chain will link again. As one dad read, Ben sent me a eulogy that a dad had read about his son. It says, we will move forward, but we won't move on. If you do see me, I want you to know that it's okay to talk about them, and you should use their names. And if I don't want to talk about it, I'll politely say that it's not the best time, but if I do, I will. But don't pretend it's not there, or it didn't happen, or that I may not be thinking about it, because It's always in the forefront of my mind, even in 1 or 2 or 20 years, because this is the life that we have been given, and it is a blessing to have had them by us, and we will grow from just knowing that they are our sons. And I will always cherish all 4 of my children all my life, just like any mother loves her children. And even though Owen and Payton aren't with me physically, I will think of them every day and remember how special it was to be by them, even if just for a little while. And I thank God for giving me that little while. Thanks.